Fans of Guardians of the Galaxy know one thing for sure. Peter Quill is a pretty gnarly dude. With a name like Star-Lord, it's pretty much a moral imperative to become a kick-butt space adventurer. But is there more to Quill than meets the eye? Here's what comic fans know about Star-Lord that you don't. Star-Lord's nickname is ironic. Every hero needs a codename, even if it's one you make up for yourself that nobody else uses or has even heard of.
Star-Lord. Who?
In the comics though, the name is an ironic one, as Quill's dad is literally a Star-Lord named Jason, ruler of Spartax. He wants Quill to follow in his footsteps, but Quill nopes out of it, keeping the name as a bit of a middle finger to dad. Star-Lord has 3 different origin stories. There are 2 routes you can go with superhero origins. Either you can have one origin that you retell 10 billion times, like Batman and his perpetually dying parents, or you can just have a whole bunch of different conflicting origins to keep things interesting. That's the case with Star-Lord, who has had 3 different backstories. Originally, he was an astronaut who ended up becoming a space cop. That was tweaked later, introducing the idea that he joins the galactic pirates known as the Ravagers, before becoming Star-Lord. And then there's the movie version, which swipes elements from both while giving him a totally different dad in the form of Kurt Russell. At least none of Star-Lord's origin stories involve slow-motion pearls. He wasn't originally a Guardian of the Galaxy. When Star-Lord appeared, he had nothing to do with the Guardians of the Galaxy. In fact, that's the case for every single one of the film's characters, with the exception of Yondu. He was one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy when they first debuted way back in 1969. It wasn't until 2008 that Star-Lord ended up putting together a new team of Guardians alongside Gamora, Rocket, Groot, and Drax.
They call themselves the Guardians of the Galaxy.
What a bunch of a-holes.
Gamora and Peter aren't an item. In the movies, there's a clear will they, won't they flirtation between Star-Lord and Gamora, but in the comics, you know, not so much. Gamora has historically been romantically linked to Thanos' arch-enemy Adam Warlock, though she also had a thing with the man called Nova, Richard Rider. Since he doesn't seem to exist yet in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that romance is a long shot on the big screen, but it has a better chance of happening than Peter's comic book romance with the X-Men's Kitty Pryde. Since the movie rights to Kitty are tied up at a different movie studio, their love is tragically doomed. Hey kids, comics! One of the great things about comics is that pretty much any random thing the writers can possibly think of is bound to eventually happen. So while the adventures of the movie Star-Lord has been pretty weird, the films are nothing compared to the shenanigans he's gotten up to in the comics. For instance, at one point he briefly became king of the planet Spartax, while at another point he was trapped in an alternate dimension called the Cancerverse, where he was unable to die. And in a twist the movie version of Peter Quill would no doubt love, in one storyline he became a professional lounge singer. Rock on, Star-Lord! Star-Lord dated his spaceship. Fans of the movie might be aware of the fact that director James Gunn named their ship the Milano after childhood crush Alyssa Milano. But in the comics, Star-Lord had a very different ship who was a key part of his adventures. Because the ship was sentient, known simply as Ship most of the time, Ship was actually the imprisoned consciousness of a sentient star named Aurora. At one point, Ship managed to gain physical form and totally made out with Star-Lord before her body was destroyed and she just became a starship again. That's kind of creepy. There was another Star-Lord. It might be hard to imagine anyone but Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, but during a brief stint in the mid-90s, a totally different character took up the name. While Peter Quill was out of action, a psychic space cop named Sinjin Quarrel found Ship and Star-Lord's gear and basically appropriated everything for himself. Apparently when it comes to superhero codenames, finders keepers, losers weepers.
Hey! It isn't Star Prince.
Star-Lord.
Oh, sorry, Lord. I picked this guy up a while back for petty thefts. He's got a code name.
Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.